It's crazy. Very, very crazy. Hey guys, I'm Tiffany. Welcome to the Cinematic Reviewer. Today I'm reviewing Civil War. Now this movie really surprised me, and the reason that is this was, distributed by A24, and so far I have not found a single A24 movie I've enjoyed, but this one, really, really good. And then also Alex Garland. I had tried watching Men recently and Annihilation, and both of those are very odd, and I just wasn't a fan of them. And my parents had actually told me about Machina. They did not enjoy it either. So I was a little like, A24 and Alex Garland, like how could this really work for me? But it actually did. It was really, really good. Now, one thing that this movie did really well, that there's so many movies I don't enjoy, is like the shots, the cinematography and everything like that. Usually the artsy-fartsy kind of things where it's like, oh, let's waste your time and shoot these things that are unrelated to the story. I'm like, wrap it up, this is taking forever. But the shots they do here, and then the little bit for like the passage of time and everything, I was totally cool with. It was like executed well, very well shot. I was very impressed with it. So for me, it actually did work for this movie. Now, one thing I thought was like, for obviously the theme and everything that's happening in this movie, it didn't affect me too much, whether it's like, oh, we're in the city, oh, like, especially where it's like, they're firing back at each other in that building and everything, like that was kind of like whatever for me. But I'd say the eeriest thing for me was as we have shots of the car driving and everything, and you just see, on the side of the road, all these standard things that anyone who drives sees on the regular. Like, it's your average American places. But then there's a war going on. So it definitely, like, I think that was, like, one of those things that kind of hit for me. That was, like, really well done. Another scene that really hit was, of course, the scene where, that crazy scene where it's, like, that guy is like, oh, hey, man! And so then, they're speeding and everything. Both the cars are right next to each other. So, jumping in that car, jumping in this car, which was absolutely insane. Like, how dangerous is that? Why would you do that? But, So, like, they're having fun. Uh-oh. They get too far. Where did they go? And so then you continue and it's like, oh, something bad happened. And so then they see these guys in camo suits and everything. They have all these dead people, and then they have two of our guys, and it's like, oh no. And from the trailer with that guy saying, what kind of American are you? Like, I really thought it was in regards to the fact that you've got the US versus the Western forces, but that's not at all where that guy was going. He was like, I guess this is my buddy. Bang! Oh no. And so then asking, where are you from? Florida, Colorado, and it's like, And then you see that guy who was having so much fun like 10 minutes ago, and he's freaking out, he's crying, and the guy says Hong Kong. Bang! And oh, that was nuts. That was totally nuts. It's not exactly where I saw it going from the way that the trailer was. I thought it was going to be one way, and it definitely was the other. But there was definitely no way they were going to make that out alive. And so that was so great when the dude, obviously, he's like, oh, I'm an old man, I can't go down there. But he's like, oh, and so then, that was so badass. And he's like, just driving that truck, runs into him and everything. But this is where the scene gets so good. So the girl, the young journalist, she ends up in the pile of bodies. And it's like super hard for her to get out of them, and she's freaking out and everything. I'm like, that scene, like, it really shows so much of like why you wouldn't want war to go down, because look how terrible that is. But like, that scene was like really well done. Now, one thing I did not appreciate from the main journalist guy, he, once the guy who saved them from that crazy ambush and everything, when he dies, then they find out, oh, the US is not going to win. Western forces is going to win, and they're headed for the capital. And then he's like, oh, you know, this guy died for nothing. We didn't even get the interview we're looking for. And it's like, first off, like, that's not even true. He did not die for nothing. He saved you guys. Like, you would have been toast if it wasn't for him. Now, obviously, as we continue the movie, he does get the little interview he wants, but I just think that's definitely bogus how he was about that. Now, another thing I appreciated from the movie, now obviously there's not too much humor in it, but there was definitely a little bit of humor, and I definitely think the main journalist guy, he definitely had some good lines. There were some nice little comedic moments sprinkled in, so I appreciated that. Now, around the start of the movie, when we're still in New York and everything, and so they're taking the pictures and everything, you know, the cops versus the people and everything like that, and you saw that person, she's got her backpack and a flag. You knew that was going to be a suicide bomber. So, like, you know, then that happens. It's like, ah. And, you know, it's like, I just appreciate, there was just so much going on in this movie, and I was just having a really, really good time. Another really good thing from the movie was the sound mixing. Like, they definitely did a good job with, you know, the sounds and everything that was going on. I can't remember other than one song that was actually playing. I could be wrong, but from what I recall, like one standard song versus more, you know, your typical cinematic score and everything. But yeah, I was definitely impressed with that. Other than kind of what happened at the end, I really have nothing bad to say. I really, really enjoyed the movie. Now, another thing that was crazy to me is after they go through that building and everything earlier in the movie, and, you know, they shoot that guy and they get the other traitors and everything, and so they, you know, have them covered and everything. Oh my gosh, the number of shots that are fired into these people's bodies was insane. That guy's just going, ah! I was like, that was crazy. Very, very crazy. Now, in the whole thing where we get to that part where they're like, are we back in the past? Have we time traveled? Everything looks so normal. And so, you know, they talk to that lady in that shop and everything, and she's like, oh, we just try to stay out of it. And like, for the sake of the movie, while I was watching, I was thinking to myself, yeah, what's up with that kind of person? Like, there is a war going on. You're kind of in the middle of it. But I do think if I were to be in the same situation, I would be a little like, I'd rather think about the happier times, the good times, and kind of keep the peace, you know. And then, of course, obviously, when Kirsten Dunst leaves the shop and everything and is talking to the older dude, and he's like, well, look up. It's not like this is actually, we're in the past or anything. Like, it's still going on. You know, you got the snipers and everything, the people up there. You know, that it's still very much a war. When we get to the end, besides the fact that it's super good, super action-packed and everything, I gotta say, with Kirsten Dunst, I was a little like, girl, you're in the middle of a war zone. What are you doing? Get your head in the game. Focus. Like, it's like, what is going on in her head? And I still would really like to know what she was thinking, because it was like, why is she so absent and everything? Now, yes, it could be like trauma, the PTSD and everything like that, but it was a little like, you gotta focus, man. You don't want to die here. But we all know what happens if you've seen the movie. Anyway, and then when we get to the end, like I said, super great, action-packed, very exciting. And then I'm like, are they really gonna leave us like this? Where it's like, oh, the president's in the car, so we gotta go and, you know, attack and shoot the cars. And I'm like, that's a little bogus, a little boring. And I'm thinking to myself, how realistic is this? You're really telling me the president of the United States would not be on a bunker? Like, it is still pretty ridiculous. So I'm happy they did not have it where it's like, oh, the president is in those cars. But it was a little like, don't trick us, because I know that's unrealistic. Anyway, so then it's good. Kirsten Dunst is like, oh, no, he's not in there. So they go to the White House and everything like that. I still find it unrealistic, though, that it's like, there weren't that many flights that they had to take to get to the president, but whatever. And then we get to the major action. So, you know, obviously in that hallway, you know, they're shooting and everything, so, you know, counter-strikes and everything like that. And you could just tell this younger girl is just being super dumb. She's like, I'm gonna get those shots. And it's like, you have not been advised to go ahead and take those shots. So like, I knew something bad was gonna happen, but I was like, okay, let's just see how it's gonna go. And then we're doing just fine at first, right? And then we get to it, she makes that shot where she's ready to take that picture. And I'm like, no, you idiots! And then Kirsten Dunst is gonna save her. I was like, no, it just got worse. And she pushes her out of the way. But even though I really hated what happened there, that scene is gold. That shot is so good. You got the, the shutter flash sound and everything. And then she takes the shot and it's like, it's such an amazing scene, but it makes you so angry. So like I said, for me, I was thinking to myself, no, you idiot. Oh no, it just got worse. But the lady behind me, when that whole thing goes down, she's like, you motherfucker. And I was like, I myself was upset, but I didn't think it was that serious. But I think that's probably the whole reason that it went down like that. That it's like, okay, who are we really gonna care about? The guy, maybe. The kid, not so much. But her dying, yes. Like, I was so upset. But I could see both avenues I could have seen happening. And that's how I kind of feel about this movie. I very much was pleased with it. It felt like we were returning to good movies again with this one. But for the most part, in terms of how things went down, how the storytelling was executed, it felt very, you've seen it before, so it's not surprising either way if the kid died or if she died, but it still made you upset. But that's what I would say. This movie does not do too many things that are like revolutionary. It doesn't do anything that I haven't seen before for the most part. One thing though that I have not seen is, so obviously, who knows how long this Civil War has been going on. But when they first have their first pit stop on this trip to DC and everything, and so they need some gas, and so the girl, the young journalist goes over to, that one little part, I guess that's where a car wash would typically be. And so, one of the guys that's there with the gun and everything, he's kind of showing it to her and everything, and she's freaking out. And, like, I guess I just didn't think about that with war, that there would be people, because I would just figure, if you're gonna kill someone, bang, bang, there you go, it's over. But, the fact that they did want to kind of like keep those people up and torture them and everything, it's like, oh, that's just awful. But that does lead to later in the movie. Now, with the whole scene and everything, where it's like she's been growing her confidence to take these photos and everything because she was just too scared, and she was beating herself up after they got in the truck after that, oh no, I didn't take the pictures, I really should have. Kirsten Dunst was the one who did it and everything, but then as her confidence builds, as they keep going through their journey and everything, and so then we get to the end, and when Kirsten Dunst's character dies and everything, oh no, she had full confidence to take that shot. But it does kind of cut back to that scene where it's like, well, she, at the beginning of the movie, she wasn't too secure in being a journalist and being this war journalist, photographer and everything. But this time, oh, she had it all set to go. Now, one of the things that I definitely was a little annoyed with the ending is the fact that it's like, okay, the person that's like the main character, the girl we've been following this whole time, she dies. Kirsten Dunst's character dies, and I feel like we didn't give enough respect to her death. Like, there was like just so much going on. So obviously we're trying to get to the president, and that's kind of what they do. They just move on, and I'm like, I wasn't the most pleased about that. I feel like her character deserved a little bit more respect than just like, okay, she's dead, moving on. I'm like, I don't appreciate that. But the fact that she did get the shot, the young girl did get the shot of Kirsten Dunst, and then we see earlier in the movie, after the older guy dies and everything, and so Kirsten Dunst takes a photo, and she's debating, and she decides, no, she's not going to keep that shot. And I'm just a little like, if that young girl keeps that shot, if that's like what makes her career, ooh, I'm not gonna be pleased. But obviously, you know, this is kind of like a singular story. No, you know, like nothing's gonna continue after it. I'm still a little salty about that. But for the most part, like, I respect why they ended it this way. And I think it also is kind of one of those deaths where it's like, Kirsten Dunst taught her everything this young girl needed to know. Her story is over. But it does still kind of suck that she ended up dying. But like I'm saying, for me versus the person behind me, like, I understood why it happened. Still, I would have been totally fine if the young girl died instead. Now, another thing about the death of Kirsten Dunst's character is the fact that earlier in the movie, they kind of talk about that this younger girl could die, and she's kind of asking her, would you take a photo of me if you got the shot as I died, or after she died, that sort of thing. So I guess it kind of is another callback and everything, where it kind of brings it back to, it's like, well, you know, you thought this character could die, but it's actually going to be this character. And like I said, seen that before, you know, experienced that before. So for the most part, other than like a couple things in regards to war, because I do not, you know, watch more war movies or really watch the news, because I'd rather think about the happy times, like I'm saying. So other than some of these war elements, I've seen this sort of storytelling and tropes before, so it's not too much new stuff. You know, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but it definitely is something that's not brand new to me. Now, I really did like this movie, and one thing I kind of wish, I definitely think this movie could have been longer. I definitely would have liked to have seen more from the movie, but it's perfectly fine the way it is. You know, I was not angry by the ending. I've seen another review and someone was angry by the ending. I still want to know exactly what they mean, because they only did a spoiler-free review, and I still want to know exactly what this person was so upset about with the ending. Like I said, maybe it's the death of the character, or who won, because that's one thing that did surprise me, that the way it was going, I really thought it was going to be, oh, the WF are the bad guys, we want to root for the USA, but the USA loses. The US loses, and the WF win, the Western forces win. So it's like, Again, we do not know what the US has really been up to, except for the fact that the president has, you know, this is like his third term, and he has launched airstrikes on US citizens, which is really no good. So, like, yes, we kind of got some elements of some bad things that the president has been doing. But, like, the fact that Texas and California, they're now going to take over, it is a question about what exactly they'd be doing. So, I kind of wish, I'm sure it's not going to happen, but if they did have, like, a book based on the movie, that'd be really interesting. I would definitely like to see more, whether it's more detail throughout the events of the movie or before the movie, after the movie. I would love to see it. Now, definitely a request you guys from me is I would really like to see more stories like this. So if you guys have a recommendation on a TV show like this, movie like this, book like this, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm like, I was having a blast. And like I was saying, I really was impressed with this movie, and I think because there hadn't been too many like brand new things going on in this movie, it just reminded me of the past, when good movies were more the regular thing, because I think we all know for a good number of years, good movies are definitely more few and far between. It's hard to find them. So it definitely more felt kind of good to me to actually see something good, and hopefully it's a step in the right direction that we're going to get better movies. Who's to say, though? But I definitely had a great time. Yeah, like, my favorite all-time genre is action-adventure, and I feel like I really got that with this movie, so I was having the best time. I was really enjoying myself. Now, yes, like, the big talk of this movie really is about, you know, the human condition, conflict and everything, with that scene where, like, it's like the Winter Wonderland thing, and you see this dead guy, and it's like, is someone here? Are we in danger? And yes, we are. And so then we meet these two guys in camo and everything, and the main journalist guy is asking, do we know if this is a bad guy, the one who's shooting from the house, and he's like, hey, the person started shooting at us, so we're shooting at them. Like, obviously, like, you know, that's a solid commentary and everything like that. But what this movie really is about, it's not about sides, like some people are trying to put politics into it, because it really is, like, more of, like, a everyone's dealing with it sort of thing. Like, at least my interpretation, and I'm sure it's more like, oh, duh, of course it is. And it's like, fine. But for me, yeah, I definitely think this movie, what it's really trying to say is talk about the human condition, and then the fact that, you know, war, it's not a good time at all. Regardless of what side you're on, if you're on neither side, you know, it's a bad time. I really have nothing bad to say except for the fact that it's like, she dies, no. But for the most part, definitely enjoyed myself. It definitely gives me hope, you know, that now maybe A24 is something I could give more of a try for. All in all, I really enjoyed this movie. You know, I understand why it happened at the end, and I respect it. It would have been perfectly fine if she didn't die, but, you know, like I said, it does make sense, and her death is definitely the most hard-hitting. If you had to pick anyone to die, and you want to hurt the audience as much as possible, she's the one to do it, so. But I was very impressed with the acting. Sound mixing, very well done. Cinematography, awesome. The story itself, great. Visuals, very impressive. And that's another thing too. Besides just, I'd like to, if they were to make a book version of this movie, I would definitely read it. And then, you know, it definitely brought me back into wanting to consume any dystopian or apocalyptic stories. Like, it definitely got my kick back in, because I love those kind of stories, you know, and it just brought me back to it. Like, there's just something so fun about it, and I really enjoy that kind of stuff, so I definitely want to get back to it. In addition to that, I'd really like to see the behind the scenes and everything, how this movie was made and everything, and some of the creative choices that they made and everything like that. Especially with, like, the shots that are going on, like the airstrikes and everything. I'm kind of curious how they made that, and yes, maybe it could have just been, you know, green or blue screen, but I just would like to know. It definitely was interesting to me. All in all, awesome movie, really enjoyed it, and I definitely would want to see it again. I very much had a great time. I'd love to hear your opinions if you'd let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more movie content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Bye!